From the Smith Center in Chapel Hill, this is Tar Heel Illustrated.com. I'm THI staff writer Jacob Turner, and joining me like he always does following a Carolina football or basketball game, our very own publisher, Andrew Jones. And Andrew, we saw Carolina beat Wake Forest tonight 80-73. Wasn't always easy for the Tar Heels, particularly in that first half, but they found a way to win tonight, and I guess that's all that really matters when it comes to ACC play, especially. But AJ, first thing I want to talk about, got to be Caleb Love, right? I mean,
yeah.
he's all over the Tar Heel Twitterverse right now, as I like to call it. Career high 20 points tonight.
And press row.
Yeah, it was a big talking point. I mean, I think at least 50% of the questions directed in the press conference was Caleb Love. Yeah. So career high 20 points, like I mentioned. Looked really well, efficient game from him, 7 for 12. I think 3 for 4 from three as well. So not only a really positive scoring night from him, but took care of the ball pretty well, efficient with his scoring. And overall, I think we definitely saw Caleb Love play his best game in a Carolina uniform, and that's a real positive. He can, continue to build on that performance and take it, further into the season, especially, with this team and how young they are.
He's a really talented player.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it.
Who hasn't played anywhere near to his talent. So if you watch the Tar Heels kind of progress through the season, and there have been noticeable improvements outside of Caleb the last few weeks. If you really, in a lot of reporting that I've been doing and crunching of the numbers, which we did a ton here the last few days, I have kind of 2 points of the season. The first 8 games, and then starting with Georgia Tech since when Roy benched Caleb, Leaky, and Garrison Brooks. Didn't start them that game. They still play a lot of minutes, but they didn't start. And sort of how the team has played since then. They didn't win that game, and they lost to NC State, and they had all the problems defensively. But some things started coming together. That was the reference point because you don't start guys to send a message. You shake the tree. Well, Caleb was 4 for 34 from three-point range going into Georgia Tech. And he was 3 for 4 tonight?
Yeah.
3 for 4?
I believe so.
Yeah, okay, well, he was 8 for 24 in the 5 games since coming into tonight. So Roy kept telling us, look, when the ball starts going to the basket, the rest of Caleb's game is going to kind of come into fruition. The weird thing is he was 4 for 24 inside the arc in those same 5 games. So you're seeing a little more stroke on the outside, but I think he's had issues adjusting to driving in a lane, seeing all that length, all that girth, all that quickness.
Completely different from
the second big guy coming over, that kind of thing. Well, tonight, 7 for 12 from the floor. That's his best shooting game for the season. I would imagine statistically, I have to go back and look at everything, but just the way he got the shots. I didn't count one forced shot tonight, one really bad shot. Maybe in the first half there was a questionable one, but he looked like a guy who was in control of his game tonight. He played with his head up. He looked a lot more connected with his teammates. And when I say connected, I'm not talking about are they getting along kind of thing in the chemistry. It's just playing off one another, reading one another, feeling one another on the floor. We saw a lot more of that from him tonight. And my favorite play of his tonight was the steal around the free throw line at Wake Forest. Pitched it ahead to Leaky, and Leaky got it right back to him, and he went and had the slam. They went up by 12 with about 2:45 or so left. That's kind of what I'm talking about. He had a steal and slam, I think at FSU was, at FSU we talked about that, and he's had a couple of those little moments lately where he's kind of gotten out and churned his wheels and done some of the electrifying things that we heard about that he would do before the season started. So we saw a little bit more of that tonight. But in addition, we saw a little bit more game management. We saw a guy who just kind of had a fullness to his game that we haven't really seen. Now, is this one game?
Yeah,
or is this, we've been saying, we talked early in the season when the light goes on for Caleb. And then we started to think, well, you know what, it's not really going to go on at one time. It's going to be incrementally. Well, this was a light on kind of night. Now we'll have to see if he backs it up Saturday, if this is just a flare-up or if this is something new, if this guy that we heard about is actually here now and is here to stay to some degree. He's not going to get 20 every night. No. But if he's at 15 and does so efficiently, this is a much better team.
My favorite part about that dunk, the steal and the dunk, was I think he turns to like the 15 parents in the crowd afterwards and went like this, and all you see is Roy screaming at him to get back on defense. I thought that was hilarious. You had to love the energy.
At least he didn't do it to all the cutouts in here.
Exactly. He did.
Can you imagine trying to get the cutouts going?
He did turn the right way, so give him credit for that. But I thought that was some good
Imagine
stuff.
how loud this place would have been.
Oh man. Yeah, with the struggles he's had
year.
and everybody knowing that, it would have been crazy to hear it out.
And I'd have to think that some of his fuel may have been
exactly
a little bit more inspired earlier. I just think that it's really unfortunate we haven't seen how these kids would handle those environments.
Exactly.
Because I think that the really good teams that play in front of the passionate fan bases that demand so much, I think that those clubs would have progressed a little bit quicker than they have.
Yeah, completely agree.
Different topic for a different day.
Yeah, exactly. Second thing I want to talk about, though, I think the second half energy was a lot better. Somebody asked Roy after the game in his press conference kind of about or maybe it was a player asked about what Roy's message was at halftime, and I think he said Hubert Davis is the one who kind of stood up and said, "Hey guys, like we shouldn't have to come in here every halftime break and try to get you guys motivated to play." I think that's basically what they said. So I think a lot of Carolina fans can obviously agree with that because first half, one thing I kept tweeting was just a lackluster energy. You tweeted it during the first half. You look at Wake Forest's bench. Every time they score, half the bench is going crazy.
Well, just the whole time.
Yeah, and Carolina's bench was very
down.
quiet. So the energy level on both teams, you could kind of notice the difference. That shifted in the second half, particularly in that first 4 to 8 minutes when Carolina just came out hot. I think they went on like an 8-0 run in the first, in like a 2-minute stretch or something like that really helped stretch it out.
12-0 lead.
Yeah.
Wake's bench was like a rock concert. Carolina's bench was like they were at the theater.
Exactly. But that second half energy just completely changed the game.
I asked Roy. I didn't say, what did you tell the team at halftime? Because he's never really going to tell us that. So I asked him, what did you like about the effect of what you told them? And he kind of went on for a minute, and one of his Roy lines said, we just kind of sung Kumbaya in the locker room, that kind of thing. Of course, we later found out that Hubert kind of blistered him some.
Yeah.
And then Garrison had a word in the tunnel before they came out. Now, they
Mm-hmm.
came out with like 48 seconds left on the halftime clock.
Yeah.
Only 4 players got up a shot.
Because you asked Roy. I think you asked Roy.
I did. Roy asked about it. Only 4 players got up a shot, and Roy said, I think second half warm-ups are one of the most overrated thing that in timeouts. Mm-hmm. So we already know how he feels about timeouts. Now we know how he feels about second half warm-ups, which I kind of agree. Mm-hmm. I don't think you need to get out there and do too much. But when a team comes out that late, whether it's football or basketball, they're getting an extra earful. Mm-hmm. And it usually only happens when a team is not playing well, and they're not, and it's not just not playing well, but like you said, the energy was terrible in the first half. Garrison Brooks played with tremendous energy in the first half, but nobody else did. It didn't look like it anyway. They may have been trying really hard, but it didn't appear that the energy was where it needed to be. And the result was what was going on in the game. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were down 33-31. In the first half, they had 31 points on 37 possessions.
Yeah.
In the second half with the energy, they had 49 points on 38 possessions.
Tells you all you need to know, yeah.
And I know Wake had that barrage of threes, but Carolina made stuff happen with its defense in the second half. They got a lot of steals. They got their most points of the season off turnovers. They got 24 points off turnovers, which kind of, helped make up for the fact that they did not have a good game in second chance points. They gave up a lot of second chance points to a team that generally doesn't get many second chance points. So they found ways to create offense for themselves, and they did it with energy. And there's a lot of basketball one-on-one stuff we've talked about this year, and that kind of is commonplace with a young team. So they see another example right in front of them. Energy, defense leads to offensive points and easier buckets. They had a lot of stuff at the rim. In fact, all of their points in the second half were inside the arc. And that's another thing. The scouting report matters. Yeah, Wake Forest opponents shooting 55% inside the arc this season.
Yeah, why not go down? Why not try to shoot down there anymore if you're Carolina? Exactly.
Carolina was like 8 for 23 inside the arc in the first half. They weren't getting good looks. So energy in the second half, that means the bigs were posting better. They were sealing when they got their guy posted. They turned and scored. The players were alert. They found him. Energy affects everything, and we saw that in the second half.
And they even did it with a guy like Armando Bacot, who's one of their most consistent players, was dealing with a little bit of foul trouble in the second half too. So even with him, they had some of the other.
14 of his 18 points came in the second half.
And he's been fantastic.
And he was sealing really well.
Yeah, he was. He's gotten a lot better from last year, which we've talked about millions of times before. But AJ, let's talk about Leaky Black real quick before we wrap this thing up. I mean, not always a guy that's going to fill up the stat sheet with a bunch of points. We've seen him do that a couple times this season and hit some key baskets. So we've seen him do it on the scoring wise, but the things he does on defense, the things he does on offense, evenly. Somebody asked him after the game, like, "What is your role offensively on this team?" And he was like, "It just really depends who's in the game." If Kerwin Walton's in the game, I think he said, "I'm going to pass it to him and make sure he's getting the ball and screening his guy to get him open and vice versa." So, Leaky Black, a guy that, like I said, not always filling up the stat sheet, which can kind of frustrate some UNC fans, but he is very valuable. What this team is doing on both.
It frustrates them if they don't embrace the wholeness of his game.
Exactly.
The range of what he can do. I mean, think about this. He's had 2 double-figure rebound games this year.
Yep.
He had a 7-assist game a few games ago. He had 8 tonight against 1 turnover. He had 16 points at Miami tonight where they needed every one of those points.
Oh,
they won at the buzzer with Andrew, and he's the one who fed Andrew the ball, by the way. He was 4 for 4 from 3 that game. He's got 7 threes, I think, on the season.
Yeah, game winner at Notre Dame, too,
Yeah,
basically.
the game winner at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So, and he had 3 blocks in a game recently. He's had multiple steal games, like many multiple steal games.
Really
so,
well.
you know, he's a high IQ guy. He understands what needs to be done out there. He's not a highlight reel guy.
No.
He maybe doesn't have that second level when he goes into. He's not going to go into the lane and dunk over people and scream and do that kind of stuff. But so what? Because the only thing that really matters is what are the numbers? What do you produce? How do you help a team win?
Yeah.
And Leaky doesn't always play at an exceptionally high level, but he often does a lot of little things at a very high level that make other guys better. And tonight, 8 assists and 1 turnover. You know that mark of the Georgia Tech game when he was one of the guys that didn't start? Since then, he has 26 assists and 10 turnovers. Also, since then, he's had a bunch of 6, 7, 8, 9 rebound games. He's had the 16-point game. He had a 3-block game. He's doing a lot of little things.
Yeah.
You know, when he takes the court, he looks at what baskets need his hand in there.
Exactly.
And a lot of that's dependent on what the other guys are doing or not doing. And he sticks his hands in those baskets. And they're 9 and 5 now. And a big part of that is because Leaky is a better player than he was a year ago. He's healthy, for one, but he's a better player. And I think he understands his role now. He's not fluctuating. Last year he started at the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 4 in games.
He didn't even know he was going to do it.
So now he kind of knows what he's doing. Roy's not going to stick him on the ball a ton and kind of change things up. Leaky knows what he's supposed to do every night he takes the floor, and he generally does a pretty solid job of it. A lot of the people watching this video may not always see it.
Yeah, for sure.
But peel away the onion, a couple of layers, and you'll see that Leaky does a lot of things that Roy really likes, including defense. Roy thinks he can be one of the best defensive players in this league, and there are nights when he is really, really good.
And just to add on that before we wrap this thing up, leadership-wise, too, I think since that Georgia Tech game, like you mentioned, I've just liked his tone in press conferences a little more. Some of the things he's saying in these press conferences, and on the court as well.
That's a great point.
You know?
He owned up to not starting.
Yeah, exactly.
He totally owned it. And I'll never forget when he said, look, you know, if you're not doing the job out in the real world, the boss is going to find somebody who can.
It's a great analogy, yeah.
For a junior, he's a junior in college.
Yeah,
very true, his mom's a high school principal. I think he understands dotting your I's and crossing your T's in life.
Absolutely.
Okay? And we see that on the basketball court. We've certainly seen it since going back to the Georgia Tech game.
Yeah. Carolina getting the win tonight, 80-73 over Wake Forest on this very court. Who Caleb Love, believe it or not, we were watching him shoot buckets out here for about 20-30 minutes again, even after a career high performance. So I think that says a lot how,
commitment.
Second game in a row we've been here where he's been shooting as we're getting ready to do a video or doing a video. But yeah, Carolina getting the win tonight, found a way to do it 80-73 over the Demon Deacons. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the win, be sure to give us the video a like below. Be sure to comment, don't comment, like, share, subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks guys.